Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Rue, and today our group will be presenting our research project. Let's take a minute and introduce the team.
Hello, I'm Nathaniel Ball.
Hey everybody, I'm AJ Colombo.
Hello, I'm Robert Rue.
Thanks, guys. Our project is titled The Influence of Brand Values on Consumer Choice. Do Ethics Matter More Than Price and Quality? Our study looks at what truly drives consumer purchasing decisions and whether brand ethics, like sustainability and fair labor, carry as much weight as price and quality. The purpose of our project was to understand what makes people buy the products that they do. We focused on how ethical and social values compare against more traditional decision drivers, such as cost and quality. We chose toilet paper as our product because it's something almost everyone buys regularly and offers a wide range of brands that vary in price, quality, and ethical claims, making it a great product for testing real consumer trade-offs. Our main objectives were to see how consumers balance brand values versus price and quality. We're to find out whether shoppers are willing to pay more or sacrifice quality to support ethical companies. To identify whether demographic factors like age, income, or education affect these decisions. And to compare what consumers say matters to them versus how they actually choose in specific forced choice scenarios. To achieve this, we designed survey questions that examined which brands consumers buy most often, why they buy them, how they first heard about them, and whether their decisions change when price, quality, or ethics are altered. These questions helped us capture both stated preferences and actual behaviors. Okay, so that's the overview of our research purpose and goals. Next, I'll hand it over to Robert, who will explain how we designed, distributed, and managed our survey.
Hello. So our research was designed using both qualitative and quantitative methods to analyze consumer attitudes and behaviors. We wanted to uncover what truly motivates a purchase. Was it quality, price, or brand ethics? By comparing people's opinions with their behaviors. We developed our survey with four main types of questions. So you had demographic questions. These were to understand subgroups such as age, income, and gender, and education level. And then we did forced choice scenarios where respondents had to pick between products that vary by price, quality, or ethics. And we moved on to behavioral questions, which was focusing on past purchase actions like switching brands or paying more for sustainable options. We also used bias control questions with neutral wording and skip logic, so participants only saw questions that were relevant to them, minimizing fatigue or leading bias. Um, our target audience was general consumers from diverse backgrounds. We distributed the survey through social media, email, and text messages. We aimed for about 50 responses and received a total of 39 completed surveys. We used Qualtrics to collect the data and export it into Excel. We then standardized the responses and we removed outliers and ensured confidentiality um, by making sure that no personal identifiers were collected. This setup allowed us to analyze averages, correlations, and trends efficiently across multiple variables. So our demographic questions were like, were you 18 years or older? Well, what was your age range? What was your gender? How many adults currently live in your house? How many children over the age of 2 currently live in your house? Um, and then we had highest level of education, and what was your annual estimated household income. Our forced choice scenario questions were Rank the following in order of importance when purchasing toilet paper: price, quality, brand values. If two toilet paper products are identical in quality but differ in price and ethics, which product are you more likely to choose? Uh, would you purchase a toilet paper brand that has great quality and price but has an active boycott over environmental neglect? And then would you pay $5 more for a toilet paper brand with better quality and good brand ethics? Our behavioral questions explored past actions and purchasing habits, such as have you ever switched toilet paper brands because of price increases, quality concerns, or ethical concerns? Then we had how did you hear about this brand? Why do you purchase this brand? Does your current brand meet the expectation it advertises? Does the brand you currently purchase make claims about sustainability, ethical sourcing, or community involvement? And then how much do those claims influence your decision to purchase? And then our bias control questions were worded neutrally. So like you saw, why did we purchase this brand? Then we had balanced response scales, such as strongly disagree to strongly agree, that prevented leading participants. And then skip logic ensured participants only answered relevant questions, reducing fatigue and bias. Now that you know how we built and structured our survey, AJ will walk you through how he analyzed and interpreted the data.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, after cleaning and preparing the data, we focused on identifying trends and correlations. We created a bunch of visual charts, pivot tables, and correlation matrices to compare decision drivers such as income, price sensitivity, and ethical awareness. And below you can see our data straight out of Qualtrics, kind of before we cleaned it all up and made it into our visualizations. The three most purchased brands ended up being Members Mark and Charmin and AngelSoft. Members Mark and Charmin were both 25%, and then AngelSoft ended up being 22%. This makes sense because these brands represented a mix of affordability and high quality, suggesting that consumers tend to choose well-known brands where prices matched perceived performance. And then to the right there, you can just see a visualization of those statistics there, with Members Mark and Charmin being the leading two brands. When ranking their decision driving factors, 54% of respondents selected quality as the most important driver. Price came in a close second, and ethics ranked the lowest for 94% of participants. This kind of confirms that even though people say they value sustainability, performance dominates in actual purchasing decisions. And to the right there, you can see the chart, quality being 54% of the participants saying that it was the highest decision driver, price at 60% being the median. And then interestingly, at the lowest one, ethics is significantly higher than the rest, price being 0, showing how highly consumers value an affordable price, and then ethics just being so high, showing how at the end of the day, it's really not much of a decision driver. In hypothetical trade-offs, 41% of participants said they would still buy a brand under boycott if the quality and price were good, while 59% said they would not. Similarly, 54% of participants said they would pay $5 more for an ethical brand. This shows that consumers are a little bit split. Ethics seem to matter, but not enough to override uh, convenience and affordability factors. And then on the left there, you can see the two pie charts for both scenarios. And then as you can see, at least hypothetically, consumers value ethics more than they wouldn't. So yeah, moving on to the correlation analysis. Our key variables were income, actual reason for toilet paper purchases, highest importance ranking, medium importance ranking, and lowest importance ranking. We found a moderate negative correlation between income and ranking price as important. This meant that higher income consumers were a little bit less price sensitive. Similarly, income had a weak negative correlation with ranking ethics low, suggesting wealthier respondents were slightly more open to ethical considerations. Interestingly, 59% of respondents said that they discovered their preferred brand on their own rather than through advertising or recommendations. Only 5% of credited social media, only 5%, excuse me, credited social media, which implies that in this category, personal research and in-store visibility tend to drive brand choice more than digital marketing. And then on the left there is a little chart just showing how dominant that personal discovery is when choosing a brand. So those are the core data trends and correlations. Nate's gonna now explain what these findings mean in terms of key insights and conclusions, and then give recommendations for brands based on those.
Thank you, AJ. So starting with key findings, our results show that consumers generally prioritize quality and price, quality being number one, price being a close second, and then the majority of the consumers voting ethics as the lowest of importance of the three decision-making variables. You can see that data in the figures at the bottom of the slide. So generally people make choices to maximize the quality however they can based on what they can afford. So looking at ethical concerns, while it is ranked the lowest of the decision-making variables, it still influences consumer purchasing decisions. And that when you look at question 14, a majority of the participants said that they would avoid brands associated with environmental neglect, showing that ethics, while it isn't the primary driver for purchasing like quality or price, it still acts as a filter in that it can be a decision between whether they purchase the product or not. So here we have a pivot table on the left and a correlation matrix on the right. And we found no strong correlation between education and the purchase reason, aside from the small, moderate negative correlation between those with more income and pricing, that they have a little more flexibility in their choice. But overall and generally across all these demographics, the consumer prefers price and quality, um, and that's consistent. So this suggests that these motives are universal rather than demographic specific, that the consumer is going to highly regard quality over ethics. So moving on to insights, we learned that higher income respondents slightly favored ethics more as well. But overall, compared to the rest of the demographics, um, it didn't really affect much. People treat ethics more as a secondary decision maker, like I said, a filter almost. Um, so most of the consumers maintain equality over ethics sort of mindset. In other words, sustainability is a great idea, and if it doesn't make much of a difference, it's preferred, but consumers aren't willing to sacrifice quality or pay too much for ethics and ethical brands with ethical initiatives. So moving on to our conclusion. In conclusion, our research shows a clear disconnect between consumer values and behavior. While people say that ethics matter, when forced to choose, quality and price still win. However, the fact that more than half the respondents said that they would pay extra for ethical brands shows that values can influence decisions when the quality gap is small or the price is also small. Small difference in price. So based on that, our recommendations for brands and vendors out there is firstly to lead with quality. Ethics can't make up for poor performance, and generally a customer is willing to pay for a quality product as long as they believe that the price is of equal, and that if ethics increases that in some sort of way, they're not really going to be willing to sacrifice quality or price one way or the other. Um, but ethics can still be used as a differentiator, just not a replacement for affordability. Companies can use that to sort of stand out. Um, Moving on to 3, this is kind of connected to bridge the intention action gap, making ethical practices more relatable and visible to consumers. Or, in other words, companies should prioritize quality and price, but they should still highlight ethical practices to get more consumer attention and possibly achieve higher conversion rates to their product. And moving on to our appendix, we have some additional data, some of the pivot tables, um, annual income versus brand purchase. You can see here. Um, you can see the categories of annual income, 50,000, then 50 to 100,000, 100 to 50, 150K annually, and so on. And there wasn't really a correlation like we mentioned either, or earlier. Same thing for age range and brand purchased. No real correlation. You can see the demographics on the left-hand side. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you all for listening, and please leave your comments and questions in the discussion. Thank you.